Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here. It's running the Thursday Night Football Showdown slate between the Falcons and the Panthers. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking down NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports daily fantasy sports slates. Real quick before we get into the breakdown, I want to thank you guys again for all support. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. Closing in right now on 5.5 thousand subscribers. The easiest way to support me with all the content being free is leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos, you know when I go live. I will be live streaming for this show on slate 30 minutes before lock, going over everything, answering any questions you guys have, and kind of giving you guys my thoughts for cash, obviously GPP, builds, all that good stuff. So make sure to check the live stream tomorrow. Also, if you guys cannot watch YouTube videos, I do upload an Apple podcast. The link is in the description below, just the DK DFS show. But with that out of the way, let's jump in the video. So before we talk about players and their prices for this showdown slate, let's look back at my lineup here from Monday night and that showdown slate. So it went really well for me with last Monday. Let's go over my lineup. So I went with David Montgomery in the captain spot. I mentioned it multiple times in the video as well on the live stream. I just felt like he was a really, really safe option because of his involvement in the pass game with no Tariq Cohen, with him being basically their only running back, right? They used Cordell Patterson a bit, but Montgomery played a majority of the game. So I felt pretty good going him in the captain. Use Allen Robinson too, just because of the targets there with Allen Robinson. And then I basically did a Ram stack from there on out. I went Goff, Kupp, Everett, and Reynolds. If you guys watched the live stream, you guys knew I was really high on Gerald Everett once the news of Higbee getting ruled out. Also, I told you guys I was going Reynolds for value. Now, I never go crazy in these showdown slates. And the Josh Reynolds play, I feel like, again, there's luck involved, right? Because him and Anthony Miller, for me, were basically identical plays. It was a last-minute call for me. I want Reynolds over Miller, but I could have easily, again, it was like a 50-50 call. Miller, wasn't terrible, but obviously wasn't as good as Reynolds. So I think he only had 2 or 3 catches. So, again, I never go, even though it feels like I've been doing really well in these showdown sites lately, I still, I don't play big money on these because there's just so much variance involved. There's a lot of luck involved. There is. But yeah, that's look back there in my lineup. I know a lot of you did well. Some of you actually got to the same lineup as me. You guys, some of you that were in the live stream. But all right, that's enough of talking about Monday's review. Let's take a look at the Vegas odds. Let's take a look at some snap counts, and then we get into players and their prices. So this game looks to be a little bit more entertaining here. Falcons Panthers is 51.5 over under. The Panthers are 3-point favorites. So I feel like we're going to get a better game than Monday. I kind of expected, though, Monday's game to kind of go like that. It was just 2 good defenses, 2 not amazing offenses. This one, 2 not so good defenses, 2 offenses that have potential to put points on the board. So this one I feel like will be a little bit more exciting to watch. But yeah, let's take a look at the snap counts here. So last game, Todd Gurley actually played 71% of snaps, which is good to see. He was hovering around the 50-ish% range last few games, but getting 71% is obviously, better. Brian Hill, the backup, played 23%, and they basically phased out Ito Smith, only playing a few snaps there. Wide receiver situation for the Falcons, well, we know, Julio and Ridley are going to play a majority of the game. They both they got close to 80% of the snaps. Now, Gage did only play 32% of snaps, but I wouldn't be super worried about that. He was dealing with an injury. He came back in. If we look back to previous weeks, Russell Gage is a guy that usually hovers in that 60-ish% range playing out of the slot. So I would expect that from this scheme as long as there's no, he doesn't re-aggravate, I think it's the knee injury he's dealing with. So got to keep an eye on it. I think he's to be good to go. If he does play, I would assume, again, we'll get about 60-ish% of the game from him. If he does end up missing the game, then you could look to a guy like Powell, who actually played more than Zacchaeus, surprisingly. So that'll be something to monitor, but I think Gage is going to be able to give it a go here. Yeah, tight end situation, no real surprise here. Hayden Hurst played 73% of the snaps. He's running a ton of routes. Stocker's the backup tight end, playing at about 50%. If we talk about Carolina, so they're using Mike Davis basically how they're using Christian McCaffrey, a true workhorse back, getting a ton of work through the air. Now, there's still a chance that McCaffrey actually plays in this game. He might come back, so we got to keep an eye on that, obviously. If he does play, who knows, would they limit him? So that's stuff that, we'll obviously talk about more in the live stream when we get that confirmation. But if McCaffrey's out again, Mike Davis then looks like a really safe play. Cannon's the backup. He'll play a few snaps, but, that's about it. Wide receiver situation for the Panthers. Moore and Robbie Anderson are going to play the majority of the game. Both got about 90% the last game. Curtis Samuel only played 48% of snaps, but he played really well. Also, Seth Roberts played 41% of snaps. He got released. He is no longer on the team. So I think that maybe solidifies Curtis Samuel for a little bit of a bigger role. Maybe Zylstra. I'm probably botching that pronunciation, but he could pick up a few more snaps. He only played 11%. Maybe he gets a little bit more work there. But I think that most of Roberts' snaps probably go to a guy like Samuel. So I think he looks like a decent value on the slate. Again, we'll go over players and the prices here in a sec. Finally, tight ends for Carolina. Well, yeah, Ian Thomas is playing about 70% of the snaps, but they're just not utilizing him at all, at least in the passing game. Manhurts played 43% of snap, the backup tight end, but again, no real involvement. No real involvement in the passing game either for either of these tight ends on Carolina. All right, so let's talk about players and their prices here. So McCaffrey's at the top at 11.8. Again, we just got to see what the situation here is. The head coach said after Tuesday's practice that McCaffrey hasn't been ruled out. We'll see. I don't think he'll play this game, but you never know. If he does play, well, it'll be something of, is he going to be limited? If he is, then obviously I don't want to pay 11.8 for him. If he's going to play and it's going to be a full workload for McCaffrey, then I feel like he, even at this price, would make for a pretty good option, and maybe not a ton of people will get to him because he's coming off an injury. Now, I did hear a report, though, that they're not going to really phase out Mike Davis, so when McCaffrey does come back, what is the split going to be, right? So a lot of it is a little bit unknown, so a situation to monitor for sure there with Christian McCaffrey and his status. QB situation, Matt Ryan's at 11K. He's after 3 game stretch of being really bad. He's been put up back-to-back pretty good performances. Over 300 yards, 5 touchdowns last couple games, no interceptions, 34 and 21 fantasy points. And Carolina is, at the beginning of the year, it was a team we really wanted to target, but they've actually been, solid, not like amazing, but they've been solid. But I still think, Matt Ryan is a guy that, if you're playing cash games, I think you're going to want to look to both quarterbacks again. That's usually my strategy here for these showdown sites, and it's going to continue for this one. If you're playing the 50-50s, the head-to-heads, the double-ups, I think you look to get in both quarterbacks, being Matt Ryan and being Teddy Bridgewater, just because, again, their nature, the quarterbacks, they just have the highest floor. So, Matt Ryan's 11K, Bridgewater's at 10.6. Who do I prefer? Again, I know I feel like a broken record with a lot of these showdown sites, but I don't really have a strong preference. I guess if you made me pick, I'll go Bridgewater, who does have a little bit of upside running the ball, 32 and 48 yards on the ground in 2 of the last 4 games. And the matchup, I think, is maybe a little bit better for Bridgewater going up against Atlanta than maybe Matt Ryan. But either way, again, I think you're going to have to make a tough call if you're only going to play one quarterback. Now, I would definitely play one quarterback. I would not fade both in a game that is projected to be pretty high scoring. So, my way, if you're attacking the slate, making a ton of lineups, I would at least get one quarterback in every lineup. That's the way that I would go about it. Wide receivers. So, yeah, these guys have huge upside. The 2 guys for Atlanta with Ridley and Julio. Ridley's at 10-2. He has been really having a breakout year. Just enormous upside. He's getting a ton of targets. And then Julio Jones is the guy that's been a little bit banged up, but he's actually off. He was, I think, questionable going into the week, but now he's off the injury report, which is good to see. Last couple games for him, 10 and 9 targets, basically 100 yards in each game. Yeah, they're both really good plays. Now, right? There's a salary cap. You obviously can't play everyone. With Ridley versus Julio, I don't have a strong take here either. They're very, very similar plays. They're guys that are going to be utilized a ton in the passing game. They're both going to get a ton of targets. They're guys they look to in the red zone. Yeah, both have huge upside. I think you can play both if you want to go. If you can find the salary to get them both in there. I don't think that's the worst idea. And if you just think about it logistically, like in GPP terms, I don't know if a ton of people will try to play both. So that's where you could get different. Is maybe you just say screw it and play both Ridley and Julio. I don't hate that idea. And in these showdown slates, it's about 75% of the time the winning lineup for GPPs has either running back or a wide receiver in the captain spot. Those are the lineups I think have the most upside if you go with either a running back or wide receiver. And guys like Ridley, guys like Julio, you can't go wrong with either. It's just you can't play everyone, so you're gonna have to make some tough calls on the slate, right? I don't really have a strong preference on QBs with Matt Ryan versus Bridgewater. If you're asking me Ridley versus Julio, again, that's basically a coin flip for me. Let's talk about some of the Carolina players now. So Robbie Anderson's at 9-2. He has been playing amazing. The targets have been there for him. The big play upside has been there. 8, 10, 5, 11, 12, 5, 8 targets. He's averaging close to 100 yards a game through the air. He has just been really, kind of surprising. A lot of people thought DJ Moore was going to have a breakout year this year, and it's kind of been Robbie Anderson. So he's at 9-2. DJ Moore is at 8-2. I probably still slightly prefer DJ Moore, even though I think the ownership might be inflated a little bit after that last game where he had 2 touchdowns. Probably wouldn't expect 2 touchdowns again, but this is just a price tag thing with Moore. I know he hasn't been getting as many targets. I know Robbie Anderson has been, probably playing a little bit better than him, but this is just a gut feeling for me. I slightly prefer Moore to Robbie Anderson if you can make me pick there for the discount of $1,000. Running back situation here for both teams. Let's talk about Mike Davis. He's at 8-8. I think if McCaffrey's out, he looks like a really, really safe play here. Basically like an identical play to a guy like David Montgomery, right? Davis will play a majority of the game. He's a guy they're going to utilize a ton in the passing game as well, which does raise his floor. I know he only had 7 carries for 12 yards the last game. I'm not super worried about it. New Orleans is pretty solid against the run. The thing that's good is just, again, the passing down work, plus he's a pretty talented back too. And again, it's a good matchup here against Atlanta. So if McCaffrey is out, I think Mike Davis looks like a really, really safe play at this price and probably someone I would look to getting into my cash game lineup if I was playing cash games. Now, is he a must play for GPPs? Of course not, right? We have guys like Ridley, Julio. You have more. There's guys with tons of upside in the slate where you don't have to play Mike Davis, but I think he does make out for one of the safer plays on the slate if McCaffrey's out. Now, if McCaffrey's in, it will be a tough situation. Hopefully we get some clarity on what the workload's going to be. So that's kind of my thoughts with Davis. Gurley's at 8-4. Hasn't been amazing on the ground. The last couple games, 2.4 and 2.7 yards a carry. Now the carries have been there 20 and 23. Passing down work a little bit better. Start of the year he was getting nothing, but last 3 games, 5, 4, and 3 targets is, it's not amazing, but it's at least some positive if he's getting a little bit of work through the air. Also positive again, the snaps went up for him that last game. I think it's about how you think this game plays out. If you think the Falcons are going to be playing from ahead, I think you can look to Gurley. If you think they're playing from behind, then maybe you don't look to Gurley, because I think if they fall behind early here, then they're not going to give him as many touches. So yeah, this one's a game flow thing, right? It's all about how you think the game plays out with Gurley. For me, with him and Mike Davis being very, very similar prices, I slightly prefer Davis. I know Mike Davis did not have a good game last game, but if McCaffrey's out, I just feel better about him than Gurley because of the pass down work for Mike Davis. Now, can you play both running backs? Yeah. They're both pretty safe options, and especially if McCaffrey's out. Both guys are getting majority of the work. Again, we talked about DJ Moore. Hayden Hurst is that a tricky price here at 6-4? We have a lot of guys with enormous upside, and both quarterbacks, the top receivers for the teams, the running backs, that it makes Hurst at 6'4". I wish he was a little bit cheaper. I think right now he's a little bit more of a contrarian play, but that doesn't make him out of play. I just don't think a ton of people will get to him. The targets have been consistent from 6, 6, 4, and 7. He's still running a lot of routes. I think he's a fine play in the mid-range. I don't think a lot of people get to him because there's just a lot of stars on this slate. So I think Hurst goes a little bit overlooked. I do think he's a little pricey, but I think he's a guy that is definitely playable at this price point. The number 3 receivers for both teams, this is where I'm looking to for value. There's not a ton of value on the slate, to be honest, but Samuel and Russell Gage are guys that I like. Curtis Samuel's at 5'4", and he had 6 catches, 6 targets, even ran one in. He's a guy that we'll give a couple carries to here and there. And with no Roberts now, I think the snaps do go up for Samuel. Now, but how much is a little bit more of a question, but maybe we get like 70% of the game here for Samuel, and 5.4K is a very, very fair price. Is he going to break the slate? Probably not, but there's not a ton of value, and I think he makes for a nice value play here at this price. I also like Russell Gage. He's actually off the injury list now with that knee injury. Again, he left the game a bit that last game, but came back in only in 33% or so of the snaps. He had 6 catches and 7 targets. He's been a little bit more up and down, but 4.2K with a slate that doesn't have a ton of great value, and a guy that I feel pretty comfortable if he doesn't, aggravate the injury. He gets about 60-ish% of the snaps. I think he's someone that, again, I like for value. So the 2 number 3 receivers here for Carolina and Atlanta, I like. Samuel, Gage, those are 2 guys I think are 2 of the better value options on the slate. Now, I think you can consider both kickers too, because below the kickers, there's like nothing I really feel amazing about. Sly's at 4K, Kuz at 3.8. They're definitely playable. In a game that is projected to be a little bit more high scoring, I think they are maybe a little bit more viable. Floor for kickers, and it is always about 5, I would say, 4 or 5. Upside about 15. So kickers can definitely put up a decent game, and I think they are safer value options, I guess. So yeah, you definitely consider both kickers here. I don't have an issue if you want to plug one in to a GPP lineup. Defenses, they're at better prices this slate, but I'm not as excited about either because this is a game I think it definitely has potential to be a shootout. So Panthers at 3-4, Falcons at 3-2. If you're a single entry guy like myself, I don't think you get there. If you're mass multi-entering, making a ton of lineups, of course you can throw the defenses in there. Right? They really all they need is one play to pay out their salary. They just need like a punt return for touchdown, pick 6, fumble recovery, right? Anything like that, and the defense, as long as they don't give up an insane amount of points, they'll have a good day for the price. So defensives are in play. For single entry, I don't think you go there though. Yeah, Ian Thomas is at 2.6. He's playing a majority of the game, but it's just like no targets. 2, 0, 2, 5, 1, 1, 1. Like, he is just not getting targeted. So, yeah, the price point, I think you can take a shot there if you want. If you want to, you just got to hope he, catches a touchdown, because I don't think he's the guy that's going to be targeted a lot here in this offense. Brian Hill's the backup running back. For I guess below the kickers, if I was going to play someone cheaper than that, I think it would be take a shot on Brian Hill. He's not a guy that's going to get a ton of work, but I would guess 20 to 30% of the snaps here, and he's a good pass catching running back. He's had 2, and 3 targets, 4, 6, 10, and 2 carries. So my expectation for Hill is probably 5 to 8 touches. At this price point, if he gets me a couple catches, that's all I really need. And with there being so little value, I think you can look to Hill. It's not a play you're going to feel amazing about, but again, like I said, this slate there's like no real standout, like super, super cheap play. So Hill's a guy I think you can definitely consider at that price. Zacchaeus at 1K. How many snaps did he get that last game? Only 15%. It was a little bit surprising that it was actually Powell playing over him when Gage went down. Sure, he had 11 snaps. Like, again, all you really need is like one or two catches at this price. So, yeah, you can consider Zacchaeus, but it's nothing I can really recommend with confidence here. Ito Smith only played a few snaps the last game. I'm not going there at $800. Again, Roberts, do not play him. He is now on the Green Bay practice squad. Zylstra, I don't know why I can't pronounce that name. Zylstra. Again, I'm probably mispronouncing it, but he's a guy potentially you can take a shot on here if you think that maybe he gets more of that Seth Roberts role. Maybe Samuel stays around 50%, if that's your thinking, and you think Zylstra plays maybe, I don't know, 30, 40% of the game, then yeah, you can throw him in the player pool. Does only have one catch, I believe, this year on one target. He's $400 though. So again, you don't need a whole lot to get you there with that price. But yeah, kind of the same thing I say with Zacchaeus. It's not a play I can go to with confidence. The backup tight ends, Stocker for Atlanta, maybe gets one target a game. You got to hope if you play him, he gets in the end zone. Manhurst, kind of the same thing. He's just not getting any real work. One target maybe. So yeah, you can throw them in the player pool, but single entry guy, if you're a single entry guy like myself, you can't go there. Cannon, he'll play a few snaps, but again, like Davis, if McCaffrey's out, should get a majority of the work. And I think that really wraps it up for the player-by-player breakdown, guys. So let's talk about captains now. For cash games, I think you want to look to, probably one of the quarterbacks or maybe a guy like Mike Davis, just because of the floor with the quarterbacks and the floor with Davis and his passing ability. Again, that's assuming McCaffrey is out. If McCaffrey's in, I'll pump the brakes on Davis. I probably wouldn't go there. But that's assuming McCaffrey is out. If you do go one of the quarterbacks, if you go Matt Ryan, I would probably play at least two of his pass catchers. Kind of the same thing with Bridgewater. If you go him and the captain, same thing. I would probably go look to try to get to two of his receivers as well. And then for upside, if you're going for the GPP, trying to win, again, we have another Millie Maker, which is great. I think they're consistently putting out these Millie Makers for these showdown slates, which is really, really fun. If you're trying to take it solo, you got to get unique somehow, whether that be play someone super, super low owned in your lineup, or you got to take a shot on someone cheap in the captain, or leave a ton of money on the table. Again, this is if you're trying to win it solo, obviously. You can always build the optimal lineup. And then finally, the guys I think have a ton of upside and guys I'm considering for the captain for my GPP lineup are, the receivers, obviously, the main receivers for Atlanta with Julio and Calvin Ridley. The main receivers for Carolina with Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. I think both running backs are playable. Again, if McCaffrey plays, though, I'm probably not on Davis. If he's out, I think Davis looks like a really safe play. You can consider Gurley, and Hurst is in that kind of tricky price range. And the two cheap guys I would look to, if you're trying to take a shot on someone, and the captain would be Samuel and Russell Gage. If you do go one of those guys, it does open up a little bit more for you to jam in like top guys. So if you go, say, a guy like Curtis Samuel in the captain, you can probably get both quarterbacks if you want to. You can probably get one of the running backs in Davis or Gurley, and you can probably still get to one of these main receivers here. You can mess around with the Bills, but if you go a guy like DJ Moore, and it's 3.3K remaining, you're still going to have to probably take a shot at someone cheap, but you will have to mess around with roster construction to kind of see what fits best. But I will go over more of those builds, roster construction, cash GPP in my live stream. So make sure to check out the live stream tomorrow, guys, again, 30 minutes before lock. But I think that's going to wrap it up for the video. So if you have been enjoying the content so far, I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos and when I go live. Thanks again, guys. I hope you guys all have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow in the live stream.